Good morning. Um, we all know that successful procedure is good. We don't doubt that at all. But when we are faced with a patient with a chronic total occlusion, we don't know whether we are going to be successful or not. So what we have to do is look at randomized trials and look at whether we should continue this patient on medical therapy or we should do a PCI. So that is the basic question out here. When you talk of success, as Dr. Brelakis himself showed you, that yes, there is a 90% chance of success, but that success is only in the hands of experts with a very high cost and a lot of equipment that is required to make this successful. But for the average you and me, the success rate usually is around 60 to 70%. So I think we need to keep that in mind when we decide whether we should do a PCI or not. Secondly, if the PCI success and non-success was not a big issue, we would not worry about it, you would try it. But a successful, non-successful PCI is associated with a significant morbidity and mortality. The highest complication rates occur during PCI for CTOs. You can get death on the table during this procedure. So I think we need to keep that in mind when we decide whether we should keep these patients on medical treatment or we should do a PCI. In my opinion, most of the patients with a CTO, chronic CTO, will not be in class 4 or class 3 angina. They'll usually be in mild to moderate angina. And in most of these studies, optimal medical therapy was never optimal. Two medical angina, two drugs were positioned and the patients were given. So let's see what we have in terms of randomized trials. I'm putting forward 4 randomized trials which have been done. The first is the EXPLORE trial, which was a small trial, 304 patients. They didn't really look at the symptoms. Actually, they should have been looking at the symptoms, but what they looked at was the left ventricular ejection fraction and the end diastolic volume. And they looked at it over a period of 4 months, and they found that there was no difference at all. So whether you open the CTO and you look at all the subgroups, there was no change in left ventricular ejection fraction. You may well question whether that was the correct endpoint that they should have looked at. And of course, as I mentioned, procedural complications are significantly more. Dissections, vessel occlusions, emergency procedures are much more common. And as you can see, the MACE at 4 months is not statistically different, but if you see in the PCI group, there's an increased numerical difference between the two. So I think it's always keep in mind the possibility of problems that might happen in these patients. So the EXPLORE trial showed that there was no associated change in the left ventricular ejection fraction or the end diastolic volumes. So particularly no difference in terms of opening a CTO in terms of improvement of their ventricular function. If you look at the EuroCTR trial, 396 patients, again stable patients, success rate in good hands 86%, crossover to PCI 7%, and here they looked at the angina findings because that's, I think, the most important. It was a difficult trial. They planned for 1,200, got only about 400 patients, and these are the various endpoints they looked at in the SAQ health status. And the p-value was to be 0.01 as considered in this trial is significant. And if you look at all the data, the physical limitation, the angina frequency, quality of life, treatment satisfaction, it was really only the angina frequency that reduced. So even all the parameters of symptoms do not improve. Now, we all know from sham trial that symptoms can be improved by simply telling the patient that the procedure was done. And this is particularly important for the chronic total occlusions. Patients are more worried about a chronic total occlusion than they're worried about a 90% lesion. They say, my artery is totally blocked, something's going to happen to you. And if you tell the patient your artery has been opened, I think the symptoms disappear on their table even before they start exercise. So I think we have to be very careful that we do a sham trial. And I think that is going to be done by Dr. Brelakis, and we'll have a much better answer after that. If you look at another trial, the Decision CTO trial done from Asia, again, a very good operator, PCI versus medical treatment, 90% successful rate in the best of hands, 5-year follow-up. Primary endpoint, myocardial infarction, death, stroke, revascularization, no difference at all. Death from any cause, no difference at all. Myocardial infarction, no difference at all. And guess what? Symptoms, no difference at all either. So in this particular trial, the medical therapy was not inferior to PCI, and the quality of life actually didn't improve as well. Of course, there are a lot of drawbacks about various trials, and we can go into details if you have time, but that's the fact of the randomized trial. The last trial I'll talk about is the REVAS trial. Again, medical versus non-medical, And here again, they looked at MRI wall thickness. They obviously all seem to look at the wrong endpoints when they're doing CTO. So they looked at a different endpoint again, the MRI wall thickness, and what they found at the end of 6 months is there was no difference at all. Of course, patients required more revascularization at the end of the year, because if you keep asking patients you have symptoms, they'll say yes, and you tell them you'll do a CTO, they'll get better, so you get it and do the CTO, therefore your revascularization rate is better. So we are in this situation where we really need to decide when you see a patient whether we should do a PCI or not. And in fact, I would recommend you to read this article by Dr. Brilakis, very recently published, and this is a diagram I've got from his paper. And the question really is, can we do or should we do? And you really need to look at the patient's symptoms. Are the symptoms genuine? Is the ischemia burden large enough? And is the myocardial function good? Is it viable? So I think that's an important thing that you should decide before you go for PCI. Then you must look at yourself. Do you have the experience to do the PCI? Do you have this proper equipment and the cost to do the PCI? Because the PCI can become very expensive. You can start with antegrade, then you can move on to dissection, then you can move on to retrograde. And then, of course, you have to consider the amount of dye injection, the kidney problems, and the radiation to the patient and the doctor. So don't forget all these issues that come in. And then you have to look at the risk. The acute risk of a PCI CTO are maximum compared to any PCIs that we do, and the patient can die on the table. Of course, I know with experienced hands you can handle that, but there is a perforation and the problems we all know when we've had perforations. And of course, don't forget the long-term problems as well. These are complex patients with complex lesions. They will also have restenosis. They'll also have stent thrombosis. And don't forget, again, these are complex patients who require long-term dual antiplatelet therapy and all the problems associated with dual antiplatelet therapy. So I would end by quoting Dr. Grantham, that when you choose PCI CTOs and as a preferred first line of treatment, that we don't have this data. The results should be reproducible, the benefits should be durable, the procedure should be safe and cost effective, and I think all these 4 points are important, and I think we should offer it to patients who do not respond to, do not tolerate, or do not want a sincere effort, and I think the sincere effort of optimal anti-anginal therapy is very important, and then after engaging them in a fully informed shared decision, we can make an optimal decision. Thank you very much.